All right, we're going to be talking about exponent rules for this unit. But before we talk about different things that happen or different patterns that occur with exponents, we need to first review what exponents even are. So exponents are a shorter way to write repeated multiplication. So you don't have to write it out as long if what you're multiplying together is the same thing. So here it says write each product using exponents. I have 4 and it's being multiplied by itself several times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I could rewrite this shorter as 4 to the 5th power. Okay, so it's just a shorter way to write something like this. Over here for this example, you can only write things with an exponent when it's the same thing over and over again. So here I have 3 4 times, so that's 3 to the 4th power. And then I have 2 x's, so that's x squared. So you can't combine them and say that the exponent is 6. They each have their own piece. So we have 4 3's and 2 x's. So we have 3 to the 4th power and x to the 2nd power. Okay. Also, when you're writing these, be careful. We want you to write them up in the corner. We want you to write your exponents up in the corner like this. If you write them too big, then they start to look like a 45 instead of a 4 to the 5th. Okay. Here we're going to talk about the difference between using parentheses and not using parentheses. So this way, how it's written, how we would write that in words or read it out loud is we would say negative 2 to the 4th power. This one we would read differently. Instead of negative 2, this is 2 to the 4th with a negative in the front. So we would call this the opposite of 2 to the 4th power. And your calculator does different things too. So this is something you have to be careful about. If they have parentheses in your problem, you need to put parentheses in the calculator. If they don't, then don't put parentheses in the calculator because there is a difference. So for this top one, I'm taking negative 2 times itself 4 times. So here I would get negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And 4 times 4 is 16. So it's going to be a positive 16. Here, when you have the opposite of 2 to the 4th power, you're going to take negative 1 times 4 2's. Okay, they're not negative 2's because the parentheses glue that negative to the 2. But down here, the negative is just out in front. It is not part of your 2. So you have negative 1 times 2 4 times will be negative 1 times 16 is negative 16. So you want to be careful when you're doing these problems because it's going to affect your answer, especially if you make the error in the beginning of a longer problem. So if the problem has parentheses, you need to use parentheses even in your calculator. If the problem does not have parentheses, then don't use parentheses even in your calculator. Okay, you're going to have to be careful about that kind of thing. All right, so here we're going to do some order of operations problems. Remember, order of operations is PEMDAS, and I like to write it like this because you're doing parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division are really in the same step, and addition and subtraction are in the same step. You just do these from left to right. So we'll do parentheses first. This first problem does not have any parentheses, but it does have exponents. So 3 to the 4th power is 81. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. Then I have to do multiplication and division. So I'm going to multiply 2 and 81, which is 162. And then lastly, I can add. So my final answer is 165. But if I didn't follow the correct order of operations, I would not get the same answer. So again, that's something you have to be careful of. Number 2 here. Again, I don't have any parentheses, but I do have some exponents. So 3 to the 3rd power, or 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 8 squared is 64. Okay? And I'm not taking negative 8 squared. I'm only squaring the 8. Just like in our last problem, it didn't have parentheses, so it's going to still be negative. Then I'm still going to copy down my divide by 2. Then next on my order of operations would be multiplication or division. So I have to take 64 divided by 2, which is 32. and then I can subtract. So this would be -5 for my final answer. Okay, and you need to show all your steps on these types of problems. This last one does have parentheses. And then inside your parentheses is like its own order of operations problem. So out of what's in my parentheses, I still need to follow order of operations inside of here. So then next I would do exponents. Again, inside of here, there are no parentheses around this 10. Okay, they're on the outside of the whole thing, but this 10 itself, it's still going to be negative because it didn't have another set of parentheses in here. Okay, so a -10 squared, the opposite of 10 squared is -100. Okay, it is not positive because they didn't have the set of parentheses. -100 plus 70 would be -30. Now that I'm done simplifying everything in here, I can multiply these two together, which would be +90. And now I'm finished. Your assignment for tonight is a worksheet, so you need to show me your notes in order to get your assignment. I expect to see all of your work on the order of operations problems and the first 2 slides.